I wanted to discuss with you why I choose martial arts, why I choose violence, why I choose war and the warrior lifestyle. Because isn't this all about the Renaissance man ideal? Well, yes. What better place to start than with our most primal nature? The need to survive. It is our very basis nature to protect our lives and the lives of our interests, the well-being of our goods and our families and our friends. It is part of the tribe. It's part of the group. It's part of survival, passing on our genes and living to a ripe old age. It is a beautiful starting point because it is, at its root, the origin of all social interaction. And, well, sex is the origin of all social interaction. And then we use violence to secure and to promote and to progress that. Sex and violence, very, very important things. But let's pull back from that a bit and discuss how martial arts relates to the idea of the Renaissance man. Do you realize that the martial arts tradition, let's start with China, bringing martial arts traditions over from India with Buddhism, the monks and the religious men were in poor health because of certain religious restrictions they had imposed upon themselves, or their order had imposed upon them. And then you've got this guy, some say Bodhidharma, comes along and teaches them these exercises. All of a sudden their health gets better. He teaches them how to eat. Their health gets better. He teaches them a little bit how to defend themselves. Oh, look, they can protect their trade and their mission from the bandits. That's fantastic. You see, in Chinese culture, a complete martial art is one that deals with the violent side, is also dealt in healing arts, and as well has a spiritual component. Now, as you are aware, I am an atheist. I promote atheism. I don't deal with spiritual stuff, but I do deal with something you don't have to believe in, something that is readily available, something that is well studied, and that's your psychology, your emotional well-being, and your interaction, your societal interaction, and even your own personal style. This is all part of the human essence. And I use the term essence not in a new agey fashion, but just, it's the essence of what it is to be human beyond biology. We have our physical bodies that we have to maintain, and then we have our minds that we have to maintain, because let's face it, progress doesn't happen without mental interaction between the body. And then of course beyond that you have your introspection and your extrospection. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I mean. Your interactions with society, your interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships, and those all combine into this idea of a whole being. In martial arts we have very much the same thing. You are learning to defend yourself physically. You are learning the tools and the methods of war. But at the same time, as the tradition goes back, you are also learning how to heal. You're talking, we're group animals. We go on a campaign, we go on a mission. It doesn't have to be necessarily war. You could just be out exploring, visiting, or whatever, and you get attacked. Isn't it good to have somebody, at least one person, who knows a medical trade and knows a little bit of how to set a bone, or anesthetize or clean a wound? The healing arts are as important to the warrior as the killing arts. And then on top of that, the more spiritual component, the essential component, is important because with that you gain meaning, whether you are driving that meaning from yourself or that meaning is being handed to you by your master in the case of a feudal society, by your religion, which I hope we are pulling you away from. But the idea is that you have to have meaning. There's no reason to fight if there is no meaning, even if that meaning is only self-derived. And trust me, meaning is only self-derived. But the point is that there's philosophy behind it. All of a sudden, you have to start thinking about the universe and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So lo and behold, you have killing, you have healing, you have philosophy. Right there, that's amazing. Well, beyond that, in society, what do we have? We have sports, we have games. This is competition without the killing. So martial arts transfers over into social games because you're still playing a dominance. And you're playing these games to improve, to satisfy, to sate some primal part of your brain that says, I want to be good at something. So we compete against each other to be good. And that's great. Well, you realize that competition then translates into our relationships and building groups, building families. This is important. So now you have martial arts that is feeding into your relationships because it is that quest for self-improvement and dominance, dominance over the self, dominance over the other, that allows us to build families. Now we've got this big circle thing going. Yeah, maybe martial arts isn't so good for the domestic things, but let me point this out. You don't fight on an empty stomach, not frequently, not purposefully. You need to have an appreciation for food, for good food, for healthful, nutritious food. So, martial arts gives you an open door into the world of cooking. Yeah, maybe you don't become a 5-star chef or anything. That's not the point. The point is that you're gaining self-sufficiency, you're gaining more personal style, something that you can explore out of this one little thing. Sewing, tailoring, crafting. Yeah, maybe that's not so important to martial artists, but then you don't fight naked, not most of the time at least, right? You want good hardy clothing, clothing that's going to last you, clothing that is durable, right? It helps to be able to mend something when you're out on a mission, out in the field doing whatever, because you can't always, get to the point where you need to, or where you can buy something, right? So there you've got food and clothing. What about building things? What about the tradesman, the laborer? Okay, well, building fortifications, building traps, building walls, building forts and lookouts. Look, building, architecture, it's right there. Sure, maybe it doesn't lend to style, but everybody's going to have a sense of style as long as, form follows function. What else can we throw in there under the banner of martial arts? What else fits? I don't know. You tell me. Send me a comment or a question in the comments. Let's get a dialogue going. But the reason that I choose martial arts, not only because I love it and I'm obsessed with it, but because martial arts is a gateway into the whole of life. It really is. Do what you will, find your own means, find your own method, but I invite you to come along this journey with me. Study martial arts. Let's open up a dialogue. Let's start talking. Let's talk about the good, the bad. Let's talk about the great. Let's talk about the legends. And let's talk about where we can take this all. Till next time, good journey.